so I'm just gonna listen to you.
Good morning and welcome back to day 2 of Game Changers Rising. My name is Joy K. I will be your hostess for today. With me on the desk are Josh and Lunari. Welcome, you guys.
Yeah, hello, welcome. Actually, not only Lunari, I also see Lunari's microphone as well, which is not a normal microphone; it's a living being.
It has eyes.
It's like in a series, you know. It's like in a series where it's just like you have everything is living, you know. You have a living, I don't know, chair or whatever.
Exactly.
But it's us four.
Yeah, it started out as a meme, and then my chat got mad if I like removed it. So now we are here, and I have like eyes on my microphone. I think we have to just live with it at this point.
Quick question, Lunari: does microphone have a name?
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
But I was just thinking the same thing, that we definitely should name it.
Does beautiful kitty have a name?
Yes, that's Joy. He's walking around a bit bored because I'm busy.
What a fantastic name. All right, guys, we have a day ahead of us because yesterday we saw a lot of best of ones. We saw teams going 5-0. We saw teams entering 3-2 score lines and still making it across the finish line for today to enter those fearless best of threes. And we are starting off with one hell of a matchup. Vitality Rising Bees went 5-0, completely dominated yesterday, took the names that they could, and they will be facing up against Eterna, our reigning champions, who kind of just made it over the line with a 3-2 scoreline.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I was kind of a surprise. I'm not Vitality going 5-0, although I personally was expecting them to go a bit lower, like to drop a game, but they've been very dominant. I think they had a very good approach to the game. But Eterna going 3-2, that was a bit shocking.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird to see everything because they landed on they now landed on the 8th place, right? So yeah, it's kind of weird because you're like, I'm first place as Vitality, so I should be rewarded with a team that I think on paper looks a bit easier, and suddenly they're playing against Eterna, and it's like, how did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. This is not really the also the result I think you would expect from Eterna, seeing that they are the reigning champions, Lunari.
Yeah, definitely. But I think we do have to keep in mind that they played with a substitute. So this can definitely just make a huge difference, not only in the overall performance of the team in general, but also like the team dynamic, all the momentum can be a huge issue. So it's good to see that they at least made it over the line for today. And they are still going to play with a substitute today. So this is definitely going to make still a huge difference and has a huge impact on today's gameplay. But I'm hoping for them that they maybe took the chance to regroup a little bit and just to find their groove back.
Yeah, speaking of groove, Josh, here we do have a replay from yesterday where Eterna was facing up against SK.
Yeah, I mean, in this game, I already felt like SK had a very, very strong draft and kind of just misplayed it, so it was really, really hard for Eterna to even... For me, it was like, as long as SK plays it well, they should, in mid-game, start like easily winning the game. But it took SK a while to adapt to this. And while they were still adapting, Eterna, what they showed is that they have very strong team fighting. I think it was more of a comp issue, which can happen in best of one. So even though they went 3-2 with a better draft, if they get this lead, I think it would be much easier for them to play it out and probably take the win over SK. So I think it's just kind of like a learning, adapting, also telling yourself, hey, those are best of ones. Obviously, there's stuff to improve, but best of ones are best of ones. Best of threes, especially in Fearless, are a different story because you also need to go deeper into the pool, and you can also force your enemy to go deeper into the pool because Vitality really, they were relying a lot on the Varus yesterday, looking at their drafts as well when they got wins against big opponents. And that's gonna be either out already in the ban phase because now teams know, or after the first game.
Yes, and I know here we are again looking at Eterna just facing off against, what was it here? This is G2. And G2 definitely brought out some spice here with a Caitlyn mid lane, and that's not something that you see every day.
Yeah, definitely. It's but I think especially in best of ones, as we already talked about, some spicy or unexpected picks can work. in some points. But yeah, as Josh already mentioned, best of 3 is just a whole different game and a whole different story, and especially with Fearless. The teams have to be a little bit more structured probably and get maybe a little more creative if we see the series go to best of, like, to the third game. So I would personally would love to see some spicy picks for sure to just change it up a little bit. But yeah, we're gonna see what they've prepped. They've definitely chosen the Varus yesterday, and as you said, the Caitlyn mid. But let's see what they gonna pull out their pockets today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, is there any priorities that we could be looking at here? Like, possibly, I don't know. I feel like Seraphine is probably something that we're going to be seeing, even though we've kind of moved away from that Enchanter patch with the nerfs coming through to summon Aerie, Josh.
I mean, Seraphine Ashe is still thing. It's like a dominant lane. Yes, we nerfed Enchanters a bit. I mean, it was a bit of an Enchanter nerf on the stronger tank buff, but Seraphine Ashe, I think they will still be a mainstay for now. Maybe they move off a bit because like you can go for Nautilus on a high like ganking jungler to punish them a bit more and still get rewarded now because tank junglers now can also move to grubs that got buffed more. Well, they could do it before, but now it's more worth it. But yeah, looking at the teams, I think both of them could still pull out the Seraphine. There's also a lot of Karma prior on Eterna. That's kind of like the interesting thing, though, that because I saw Vitality, they banned a lot of more Karma, while C likes to really pick it early because it's just a very strong support pick that gets you prior very easily, and you can play from there. So there's going to be a lot of trade-offs in like bans and what picks and bans. What do teams like to pick on each other side? How do they like to play the game? All these kind of things. And I really think that Vitality and Eterna, and that makes it very interesting, they have a completely different playstyle.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
And here we have Vitality's roster. I mean, it's a stacked roster.
Alright, we have, I mean, maybe to just go through the roster really quickly. We have OP on top lane, who was like someone who came out of Noah last year on Serens. Delicate, who obviously won the last Game Changers with Eterna, which makes it a bit more interesting in the storyline, because Delicate wants to prove, hey, I'm now on Vitality, I'm on the LEC org, I need to win this, I want to win this, I want to show you that I was the reason that Eterna was winning last year. Rim, who was on G2 in the previous year, and I think in G2 after she had like a really standout year, like breakout year on Solari, then going into G2, now on Vitality, she also wants to prove that she's gonna be like a mainstay in mid and one of the best mid lanes in the scene. Well, she has already proven that, but like just the continuity of being like where you build your legacy as well, where you start like she's in the third year now, and it's like you want to have a lot of years chained together with top performances to kind of become like this top tier player and be in conversation of one of the best players in the scene ever.
Yeah, well, that's high praise here. Well, we talked about how Delicate then moved over from Eterna to Vitality Rising Beast. Let's have a look at Eterna's roster here.
Yeah, definitely a strong roster as well. As we already mentioned, Sashi not gonna play today, so especially as you already mentioned, against a strong roster of Vitality, not having the like anchor in the mid lane is gonna be and definitely an important loss for Eterna. Steri and Thorn, especially Thorn, I remember last year's performance was really great, and especially with like fighting junglers and getting onto the map, getting into the game was really an important role for her and for her team. And also looking at the games yesterday, Clef and C definitely had moments where they really could shine. So maybe if they can focus today on like bringing Thorn and in combination with Clef and C onto the map and just enable that bot lane jungle trio a little bit. Maybe this could be an option for them to play a little bit around the missing mid laner and try to face Vitality in the best of 3.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw some standout performance from C yesterday on the support. I believe we do have the bracket here to look at for today as well.
And for me, yeah, we have the Vitality against Eterna. That's obviously the spicy one. That's one we're covering. But it's like first against 8th place, and I can't. Okay, that's first against 8th place. I gotta say though, it's not like 8th place because Eterna are really like they looked super bad. It's more that they went 3-2, but the way Swiss States works is it also counts in which opponents you have beaten, and it kind of gives you a percentage of how good they were, the opponents you've beaten. And that's why the opponents Eterna beat in the end were just not that good, so it just gave them a lower standing. It doesn't necessarily mean that they deserve to be in 8th place, and I personally think they absolutely don't. And if they would face off against some of the teams higher, they would actually prove that as well. But now, because they're 8th place, obviously they're facing off against Vitality.
Yeah, and I mean, we can still talk a little bit about this bracket and how it formed, because as we did see, there were some upsets yesterday, Josh, as well. Because I mean, G2, they lost a game against as a major org, losing a game to a non-major org is a little bit of an upset here.
Yeah. I mean, it was their only loss, but the team that they lost to was kind of like unexpected. Once you look at the draft, though, you realize, okay, now I get why. Because G2 had a very like melee-oriented draft, not the most insane engage either, and Eclipse was on red side. That's what they lost to. Had the last pick for Sana, who now came back after a year break, and she got to pick an Illaoi into so many melees, and that is a champ that can really decide. Like, there's not many champs. There's not many times I say, like, a draft is decided. Even then, obviously, if the Illaoi falls too behind, she will not do a lot. But in this case, the Illaoi pick was so strong that I think it just... G2 didn't know how to handle it, especially because you will never face it in scrims either.
No, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday in the green room as well, right? Sana is quite known for her Illaoi, and so this was just a perfect pocket pick to drag Eclipse over the line and lock in that win against G2. Now, before we head into the draft, we have heard now that Eterna has decided to start on the blue side.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it interests me. Like, Eterna starts on blue because it interests me on what we're gonna see. Because like Eterna likes Karma. They probably Orianna, Azure, Nico. But here's the big one. You know, you know that Varus was like a really high prio B1 and the best ones for Vitality. But Eterna could also go a completely different angle. Think about Fearless. Think about what do we actually want to ban. Do we actually want to ban Varus? Because if we pick it away, then it's gone for them. And it was such a big pick for OP yesterday. So if they just pick it away, poof, you need a new strategy on Vitality and they need to start adapting.
Yeah, it could definitely be a smart choice to just abuse. My voice is just gone right now. Okay.
So good.
It's early still.
It's Sometimes the voice cracks are just snuggling in. No, I just wanted to agree with you. I mean, you can definitely abuse the Fearless format a little bit, and especially if teams rely on 1 or 2 picks to form their team and to carry their team through games. It definitely just makes sense to say, okay, let's just pick it away, and it's the easier way sometimes than just banning it in 2 games and basically wasting 2 bans if you can also pick it for yourself. So I do really agree. So maybe they are going for that.
Yeah, and there's also something because you said like kind of the strategy. Obviously, last year I've been a coach. I also had a LAN event with a best of 5, and my strategy always was that once we get a best of 3 or best of 5, it's even easier. It's less pressure to do it. But I always look at what pools do we share, or what are champs that maybe they're actually not as high on our prior list, but we still play them and they're high on the enemy prior list. So game 1 is kind of like we get as many champs out that we know are super comfort for the enemy, especially if they have a certain pool that's very targetable, a certain laner that doesn't have that many super strong comfort champs. So that's how I like to look at it as a coach. to kind of make then game 2 and game 3 easier, and then telling my team, hey, it's fine. We're gonna win the next games, even if we lose this one. We already we have such a strategic draft advantage, and we had a best of 5 series in Vitality against Serens last year at a LAN event, and that's exactly what I told my team. We were 1-2 after game 3, but I looked at the champs that were left over, and obviously that was a best of 5. It's not a best of 3. But I told my team, there's no way we lose this because of the champs that were left, and that is an approach I like to go for as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, super valuable to get this type of insight, right? This is why we always love having people with your expertise on the desk here to give us this valuable information of how do you strategize around a fearless format. And that's, I think, also what makes it more interesting as we head into these larger series. You are going to go deeper into these champion pools of these players, but also we get to see some, I mean, can I say it, Lunari? Our favorite thing, spicy picks. So
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, this is then, I guess, my question to you, Lunari. What is your favorite spicy pick? What's something that can really make you very happy if we see it today?
Oh, I think there's a long list of spicy picks. I think it's always a combination of surprising your opponent with something they probably don't expect and something that is still playable. So we've seen in the past also spicy picks just going completely basically wasting a lane. But I think something like an ADC mid lane is always a kind of viable option. I mean, we saw the Caitlyn yesterday. You can also go for something like a Tristana or an Ezreal mid lane sometimes, or like the Illaoi we've talked about. I mean, it's a really niche pick, but if it makes sense and if you see the angle, why not go for it? And I think being able to adapt your draft on the go as you see what the opponent is building is, especially for the coach, we've heard it already, a huge,
looking at you, Josh.
Huge task. Look at side eye. No, it's definitely a huge task, and I hope we see some of those pocket picks today. I would love an ADC in the mid lane, not in the top lane. We're not going that far, but in the mid lane.
There's also, I mean, it's not like this spicy pick as you described as a surprise pick, because it wouldn't be a surprise. We know she plays it, but I still want to see it because it's spicy. It's Dawn on Hecarim. That would be a banger. And she knows exactly, she picks it. She sees the angle. I know, I've seen her pick it a lot before. Every time she sees the angle, she's just bam, give me the Hecarim. I'm gonna pick it here. That would be lovely.
Just for our and our caster's sake, please, Storm, pick the Hecarim. We want to see it. You know,
the entertainment.
Exactly, for entertainment purposes, I also do really like seeing just straight up assassins in the mid lane. We got to see some of that yesterday. We got to see the Akali coming out, and the Akali did some work yesterday. Holy. But I think that we are about ready to head into draft. So let's see, are we going to see any assassins or any other spicy picks coming out for the very first game of this best of 3 here?
Yeah, and what are the bans gonna be? Let's see.
Is I
wrote some down.
Interesting.
Okay.
Talk us through it, Josh. Talk us through it.
Okay. Oh, Talia. All right. So I was not expecting the Talia. I was like, maybe we still see the Zoe and Talia ban. That would be the kind of targeting rim. But the Talia first ban already gives me the impression that that's exactly what they want to do. They want to target rim. So I doubt they leave the Zoe open. As I said, there's kind of either you go Karma, Nico, maybe, or you pick away the Varus. So there's the Nico gone. And on the other side, on Vitality, and Orianna is still open. That's always also a B1 you want to pick because it goes with so many champs. And then we have the answer. So Varus is banned. There's not going to be pick away by Eterna. They are not ready to play it themselves.
Yeah, I would also agree with the Orianna ban, especially looking for the Nocturne as well. Could be a strong combo, which is seen a lot. And there's the Orianna ban coming through.
But on
But the
blue
Ezreal?
side,
Yeah, but they banned it. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
yeah, true.
it's a bit
Maybe-
surprising.
Yeah, maybe they don't want to play themselves as well. Maybe they want to have like a comfort first game to start
Could
the
be.
series. Maybe something
Yeah.
in this direction. And yeah, the Karma Ezreal does make sense,
it?
definitely.
It's just maybe it's the Seraphine B1. And considering everything is out, I feel like the banned Orianna. Yeah, there it is. They banned Orianna because they knew there's like Karma and Seraphine still open, so they only can ban one of those, and they just pick the other. And I think at this point you can be very sure because both of them are strong picks. You might just want to have them out because Karma is just still this really, really strong support pick. Vitality now answering and saying, yeah, okay, you picked the Seraphine, but we're not gonna give you the Seraphine Ash.
Cannot get you the Ashe. No, I think super sensible to pick that away, right? So now we're open for
Definitely.
other pairings on the bot lane. That Ashe is locked in. They're gonna lock the Jarvan alongside it. So now, what do you want here to set up this Seraphine bot lane even further? Could even see an APC Seraphine maybe here.
Yeah.
We've seen it yesterday.
Possibility, yeah. And I think it also makes sense to lock in the Jarvan for extra engage, and especially it's also a pick Thorn likes to play, but Thorn also has some more fighty jungler coming through with a Wukong. Ooh, the Senna.
That
Seraphine
is-
Senna, that's a combo.
That's a
like it.
combination. It's a bit
It's
of
also
an older
still-
one, but I like it.
Yeah. It's also still the question, but I think it's gonna be Senna ADC then. It's also, I mean, thinking about it, like Clef, I think I've never seen her on Seraphine bot lane. And I think Seraphine is also a champ that fits how C has been playing so far. And the combo is very good to also now set up another carry. The interesting story is though that Starry normally is like, the supportive tank player. So I wonder if we're gonna see her adapt. While Vitality, that's something I also pointed out earlier. Yes, okay, Ashe Seraphine is still there, but now you can more easily go for a Nautilus plus ganking jungler to put a lot of pressure on the bot lane. So while normally you see Vitality playing heavily into top lane, I could see them now to decide to just play heavily into Senna Seraphine.
Yeah, it also would make sense, especially we've already talked about earlier that like C and Clef could be the angle that Eterna wants to play around. So just adapting to that and Vitality just locking down the bot lane early on would definitely make sense, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's as you say, Josh, right? Like they go for the Jarvan, they go for this Nautilus, and then with the Ashe to follow. I mean, Ashe could even start this whole thing up, right? That's the beauty of Ashe as an ADC. You can take so much initiative, and then you have this kind of sitting duck bot lane on the side of Eterna. Great sustain, good damage output, and it can get sticky if it goes on for a while. But honestly, a bit of a sitting duck lane.
Gnab, Cassandra as an answer. I mean, I feel like Eterna just felt the need to have a bit more damage. That's why they picked the Cassandra here. And also you could also just pick the Silent on while you suffer early in lane. You just outscale it very, very hard and offer some more engage. And on top of that, I think Eterna just wants more disengage because obviously we have Ashe, Jarvan, Nautilus, Gnar. They all want to go in. You just need to make sure you can exit. So the Cassandra helps with that too, to just keep your carries protected. And then Eterna rounds it out with an Aurora. And Vitality, they were setting up the R5 mid lane pick. And it's Lux mid lane from Rim. Wow. She's known for it. And it fits right in.
Yeah, definitely. And Vitality also banned out the Sion, just adding that. So they took away at least one of the tank options there. But the On would have been also a valid choice. But yeah, which draft do you think which draft are you leaning to? Which one do you like more at the moment?
I don't like the Aurora pick, to be honest. Because it kind of feels out of place with the rest of the comp. And I also think Eterna lacks a bit of, like damage, even though they have the Cassandra in the end. I think Vitality, they have been looking strong and they're going to come in confident. And they have a very simple engage comp as well on their team. So I think theirs is just easier to play. They have a better identity. So I will give this game one to Vitality.
What about you, Lunari?
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think especially in series that could go a little longer, just having easy to execute teams is sometimes just the easier choice. So you have a lot of CC and just a lot of options on the side of Vitality. And yeah, I mean, on the other hand, you have a Senna that likes to scale into the late game, yes, but if the CC is hitting like the range that you're stacking is not gonna give you anything, so I do agree with you and gonna go with Vitality here as well.
I mean, this is a super scaling bot lane, right, that we have on the side of Eterna, and that makes it, yeah, I mean, that makes it a little bit harder to play into this. I think we can call it a snapping game. The Rising Beast, they can really pull the trigger with the Ash Arrow, the Jarv, and like, yeah, the engages from Nautilus, but not to mention also when we have Mega Gnar available, right? Like you can also set up a lot of plays with this and great CC, so...
Definitely.
So with all of that talked about and ready, it's time to toss it over to our casters for the first game of today. Eterna versus Vitality Rising Beast. Bandit and Trajan, take it away.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Desk. I'm very excited to get into this match, folks. We have Vitality Rising Beast 5-0. Eterna, a bit of a darling of this broadcast for a long time with the story they've been able to build up over the last few splits. And now we have been trying to discern our idea on this draft as well, Bandit. We've been kind of getting into it watching this one because it's kind of hard to decide who's in a better position.
We've been going back and forth a lot, and I think we can all agree that the unity that is shown by Vitality in a composition where anyone can engage in any order whatsoever and the follow-up will always be there is very reliable to work on. The point that we had some trouble finding common ground on is the story that Eterna is trying to tell us, right? And it mostly boils down to their Senna pick, which I think is the most divisive one we've had. I feel that you're trying to tell two different stories. In the team fighting, I'm seeing we want to be one and done in 4 to 6 seconds, give or take, right? We hit a big engage, we all burst them down, be done with it. Meanwhile, Senna tells me I want long, prolonged fights where I can heal a lot, where I can get a lot of stacks. And then if you're like, maybe a Kalista, maybe a Misfortune would have fit a little better. But give me your side on that.
Yeah, I think the Misfortune, we were talking about it, especially when you have a Wukong Seraphine to set them up and Aurora to splash a big ult over the top. The burst potential and the AoE is very strong there, but Senna Seraphine gives you that ability to kite back and re-engage, to try and weather the Nautilus, Ashe, Lux, Jarvan combination. If Vitality Rising Bees are not able to properly layer their engage tools or not able to actually eliminate one of them successfully out the gate, it then becomes super hard to actually push through a team fight win, right? Lux has got one combo that if it lands, bam, you're just gone. That's how the champion works. You have to wait for that to reload, whereas Ashe does not necessarily scale super late into the late game. The DPS is there, but ultimately it's not necessarily a 40-minute 1v9 kind of champion. And then the Senna Seraphine, it scales so well later on. And if you avoid that initial misstep, it's so hard to actually knock them down. Wukong can use the clone to re-engage. Cassante, famously annoying to actually kill this champion. So I think that they have an option to burst, but the Senna maybe takes a bit of the sting away from that, so it doesn't necessarily work super well for Eterna there. But in those long plays, I really do like their team comp, but I think that if Vitality Rising Bees don't have the execution on point, they might start to suffer.
A lot of attention I will be keeping on those encores coming through from our Seraphine side, because we have been surprised, at least I have been surprised yesterday by just the sheer amount of range that Seraphine Wukong has, where they can threaten engages, where the Seraphine is not the follow-up, it is actually the first shot fired, extending its range through the Wukong, being a lot more threatening from a lot further away. And if you overstep or do not take that into consideration, you can find yourself caught where you thought previously you were playing it safe.
Yeah, you can kind of, with the Wukong invisibly cloning in front of your team, and before you realize it, you see the Encore. Well, that's not going to connect, is it? They've miscalculated that one, and oh, whoops, oh dear, it's tripped over the invisible monkey in front of me, and all of a sudden, you're in a very bad situation. Now, we are going to get to this game at some stage. We do have to reset the lobby. We've had a small issue in that lobby, so we're going to go to a little break. We'll be back with us and this game of Game Changers Rising before you know it. So stick around, everybody. We're going to a quick break for now. We'll see you in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. We have made it onto the rift here at LGC Rising. Vitality Rising Bees heading up against Eterna. First seed versus 8th seed, I believe, coming out of that Swiss stage. It was a tough battle making to this point for Vitality Rising Bees. Confident out in 5-0. I'm excited to see what they can show us as our first seed coming in.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first time that someone scraping in to that cutoff point would be providing us with a major upset. Now, Rim is on absolute comfort on the Lux, and I feel that with the extra range in lane, you can actually get through that quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think this Lux is going to be quite a pivotal piece for me, right? It does very nicely synergize with this engage composition that the Rising Bees have, as we do have Honda taking up a known but aggressive position in this brush. And you can see the Senna Seraphine, they're actually not being intimidated. They're not going to back away too easily. They know that even at these early levels, they can put up quite a decent fight.
Yeah, and here's the interesting bit, right? When you are playing into the Ashe, you kind of want to get that cleanse in. But oof, as I clench my cheeks close together as that hook just scrapes on by. I feel like you kind of have to go for the cleanse, but playing into the Nautilus as well, cleansing out of that just feels so impossible.
Yeah, like it feels like there's almost no point. You're like, oh, you've cleansed my auto attack, or what about my dredge line, my ult, and my slow from E? Unfortunately, we've only got one summoner, my friend, so Honda is going to be able to threaten these bot laners quite well, and obviously the Ashe DPS at those early ranks, once you get the Rangers focus online, is very scary. The 2v2 is definitely to be respected by Eterna here. See a top lane crash and a proxy developing in this top side. Not going to waste any time, and with Wukong on bot side, this is pretty safe.
Yeah, it is pretty safe, and you can see with the early vision that they have garnered themselves. They know they are in the clear, seeing that those chickens are already cleared away. And that is just making the most of your situation. Ooh, even interrupting the back, resetting the tempo even more. No clean bases allowed.
Very rude from Rim to cancel that back. The Aurora and the Lux both offering
Nara's in the mid lane.
Insane one-shot potential. So she is. And now this is even ruder. But a flash away from the Aurora has actually left Nar in the lurch. Thankfully, it's just an execute. And you expected a scrappy game, Bandit, and that's what we're getting.
Yeah, I didn't have OP roaming down the mid at 3 minutes into the game on my bingo card, but the action is not done yet. We're gonna get scrappy for this scuttle.
Yeah, this is gonna be pretty risky for Delicate to push for here, and might
collapse,
not
though.
be in position to find it. Nar actually coming back despite that execute.
Teleport!
TP back onto the map, and OP now going for it. Rim going in as well. The hook's landing in bot side too. The root comes through, and a counter beat drop slows down. Look at that burst back onto the Ashe. Rooted up by the last embrace, has to drop the heal. Ghosts and flashes away as now Honda is left in the 1v2. Meanwhile, that top side fight has gone 1-for-1 either side. A flash hook back to the turret from the Nautilus, and Rising Bees are rebuffed.
Yeah, absolutely criminal that they are getting out with their lives, and that one looks incredibly dire. In the meantime, we saw the teleport from Rim going down, trying to collapse upon a roaming Wukong, but it is actually Wukong who gets out with all of the gold in that scrappy engage.
And the fact that OP walks away from that that mid lane kerfuffle, TP's back on, gets a kill in that top lane play as well. While, Ivy's just kind of sitting there going, okay, I'm just trying to catch my waves, guys. Can we give me like 1 second to do so, please? And has to deal now with the extra kill going onto the Gnar. It has been a cull start, so scaling for the later stages is OP right now. But obviously that ranged into melee matchup, plus double buffs gifted over. Not ideal for Cassante.
Yeah, quite a nightmarish situation to be in on this side for our Cassante. Ivy getting a real tough time, but we've seen Eterna power through that before as well. A Renekton being bullied in lane yesterday only to rise up when it mattered most. So not a new position to be in, and do not underestimate the comeback potential of these weak side top laners in the hands of Ivy.
Ashe now returning to this bot side. We saw the power of the Senna Seraphine when you hit all the skill shots, right? It's obviously not going to stack up in an auto-attack race versus an Ashe. Very few people can, but if you actually connect those critical spells, the last embrace getting the Q healing down, Seraphine has very, very solid base damage through the early levels. That 2v2 is pretty scary. We used to have Vitality Rising Bees in control of the wave, but now Wukong arriving, maybe looking to see if there's an over push here.
And I mean, whilst we are weathering the storm throughout, there is a ward positioned in that river bush. Should give them enough heads up of any wrongdoing. In the meantime, look, we might not have to wait very long for action.
Who's going to commit first to this one? Senna stealthing forward. They're looking for this engage, and dashes forward goes Thorn, and slides back goes Delicate. But we've got a quick rotation down from Rim. There's no movement from Aurora either. But Honda not able to get a follow-up hook, and it will be a disengage.
And here is the thing. This mid lane has been going so disastrous for IVE. Already into the Lux, almost 20 CS down. And this wave is crashing into Rim as well. So getting bad to worse. Making sure that she has to at least shadow Rim on that roam down means that they can't punish the time away from Rim. It's getting a little bit more bleak if you're an Aurora enjoyer.
Yeah, it's been quiet so far for this Aurora. Obviously, dealing with that range disparity. Aurora's burst with the early levels is very, very solid, but Rim can easily play from range. That Comfort Lux pick fixing the matchup in lane pretty well so far. We have another Gnar invade, followed up by Delicate. This time, Aurora's going to be the first to move right now. This could be a 2v3. K'Sante ultimate drags Gnar to the other side of the map, but Ghost Mega slams into the wall, and the Rim ultimate can't quite get the K'Sante kill. Aurora arrives and can clean up one. Unfortunate that they couldn't turn that one back onto K'Sante.
It is a little unfortunate, and then some. You can see the vision, you can see the potential, but the presence of mind to at least separate OP from Delicate is the one element that means they will be victors in this little jungle kerfuffle. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, they are getting pushed in time and time again, knowing that they're free from any jungle pressure.
Eterna going to be pretty happy with this passage of play. It really has been Rising Bees trying to find any excuse to scuffle on that top side, right? OP has been hunting for scraps whenever the opportunity arises. And once they get those level 6s on deck, which are now starting to come through, we have kind of the full combo, right? We've got Ashe, we've got Lux, we've got Jarvan. We almost have a depth charge ready for Honda. Then that pick potential is only going to get stronger. But we have seen already that Eterna are ready to rotate. They're ready to try and defend their team when they are under assault, and they've got plenty of damage to offer themselves.
It is Vitality Bees that have to be mindful of overstepping, being overconfident, forcing plays that are mere hallucinations, because in their endeavor for getting all the scraps they can get, they've been almost serving them a 3-course meal themselves, being the sole source of deaths on these Rising Bees lineup.
Now, wait to see what the next play is going to be. So far, with OP pushed up to the tower, unlikely that she's going to be able to find another invade into the jungle for, at least a minute. So we'll check back in a moment there. But
is
both
that
the
a
jungle's
challenge?
back onto the spot side as well. Well, to be honest, yes, it is. I've come from a lot of experience casting the CBLOL. A lot of our top laners do like to do some of this crazy stuff as well. I've gotten used to it now, to be honest. But the dragon has been picked up by Wukong on the side of Eterna, and there's not been a challenge from Rising Bees there.
We'll be giving it over, simply like that. And that is a bit unfortunate, Pact, here, because there is Delicate in the neighborhood who's spending time, has reset, and is leaving the bot lane high and dry if they're not careful.
See the Senna Seraphine happy stepping up, contesting that vision, keeping this Ashe Nautilus so contained in this laning phase. Rising Bees have not been able to get any purchase off of this bot side. Sia and Clef are managing this lane super, super well, and this is great for the Eterna fans to see, despite the 3-2 record coming in, scraping into this next stage out of the Swiss, and going up against a 5-0 right, Vitality Rising Bees. This is a great start for them, and as I said, I think the scaling is on Eterna's side. When you have a Senna, even if it necessarily doesn't quite have the cohesion in some of the aspects of play, it does just go and build forever.
It's mounting, it's rising up. Now they do manage to get all of the grubs in trade for that dragon. So it's a bit delayed, but we will be getting there in the very end. And when you look at some of the side lane potential, I'm not that impressed. It's basically just the Gnar that, I guess, the K'Sante matching into that will not be enough. But this bot lane, we have to spend more time about that, because Senna Seraphine is keeping up in that early game a lot more competitively than I was initially expecting them to, even going further and actually keeping this Ashe Nautilus combo contained.
Yeah, you know, I think that I really love the Seraphine picks that have come through right here. I love the priority that we're putting on this champion. And Ashe, despite the fact that we are on 2611, I believe now, so we've had those Enchanter item nerfs and the matching buffs to the Engager item set, it still seems like we're still getting plenty of value here. And as we scale up, we'll see if the Echoes of Helia can still be valuable enough to stack up against those other options. But yeah, I think Eterna are going to be very confident coming out of this early stage. This is, of course, a best-of series, so they've got to do it multiple times here today. But we know they've got the quality, and we know they've got the angle, and there's that Wukong Seraphine extension you were talking about! A double Cyclone gets more knockups as Rising Bees have to retreat back to the turret, but they've lost their Ashe.
They are just so perfect at setting up the play, punishing any unwanted members in that bot lane, losing out on a big old wave as well. Even the jungler cannot set foot in there, only sitting on 30% HP. It is a disaster in the bot lane, and this whole new side of Eterna, where they get to be in the driver's seat, where they get to take charge, it's looking good on them.
It really, really is, right? And we haven't yet seen Rising Bees, I think, been able to start their own play using the CC combination, right? Perhaps this could be a chance. We have Nautilus, we've got Jarvan, we've got Lux, but it's instantly pushed back by C. Wukong is going to step away from this teleport. OP sees a fight, wants to get stuck in, understandable, but it seems like the play might already have fizzled. Honda threatening onto this blue buff, but doesn't quite have the support in place yet.
Yeah, and you gotta be mindful of the fact that your Lux is no longer in possession of that murderous combo. Meanwhile, when you look at IVE, they are in possession of that in-between worlds. Is very low. He's looking for the reset, but that is why we see Vitality Rising Bees not committing to that blue invade.
Yeah, it's I'm waiting to see when this is gonna, you know, kind of come to fruition. We need to see the Rising Bees starting to put some set plays together, look for these picks, try to get some gold back, because if Eterna are allowed to keep scaling, they seem more confident in this laning phase. We must, you know, we can admit at least that Rim and OP are managing the CS leads very, very well. They're individually kind of out-CSing, but a lovely Cassante all-out drags the Mini-Nard back into the wrong side of town. Just lost the Mega, doesn't have the ult, but flashes past the knockup, and the Topo strikes aren't enough! Cassante wanted this bandit!
He wanted this, and in the end, you see the power that a fully finished item brings, but we're still not done.
Flash hook connects and into that Lux route as well, but C is there with the shields, with the healing. The Ashe ult crashes into C as the safety of the turret, but Delicate is there to follow up and get that burst down. Aurora slips away, but too many tower shots for Rim. That's an overstay, and it's a double kill for C as Thorn looks for Delicate but can't get the hands on.
I can't be happy with the performance on that one. Rim looked like initially not hitting their ult on the C-seed IVE on the Aurora, and then misjudging who would be taking aggro despite the Void Mites having a presence underneath that tower. These are the plays that Vitality Rising cannot afford. Yeah, they get a bit of a consolatory prize in the end with a single kill upon C, but Vitality Rising Bees, I think we can expect more from them.
Looking a little cold, you know, a little rusty this morning. Perhaps some warm-up still to be done as we get into this series, and we'll see if they can smooth out those mechanics as we go. Now, obviously, as you say, Delicate was able to get one back, but really it feels like OP is the only one firing on all cylinders out of the gate for Rising Bees. Eterna feel a bit more cohesive, feels like they know how their composition is played and they're warmed up this morning. Now, a lot of those kills did go over to C, right? We ideally would have had it go over to Aurora, would love some extra gold to catch up to that CS deficit, but the Seraphine is going to accelerate towards those key items pretty quickly, and we know that's a big part of the composition.
Take a breather while we are enjoying a rare moment of silence. I do actually...
I'm afraid we're not. I'm going to be honest, Bandit. We're not enjoying a rare moment of silence right now because OP has hit one boomerang and is now trying to all in. The Lux ult is backstep. Cassante with barely a tower to hold. The Sen ultimate with a critical shield and at least makes the trade a 1-for-1.
That is a lot invested to make that play happen on the top lane.
Oh my word, the Ashe ult, Delicate looking for a play onto C. Cataclysm only catches the center. The encore will slow them down. A double beat drop doesn't connect. The next flag and drag doesn't either. And a big auto attack knocks down the Seraphine. Can Senna get to the tower? No, she can't. Shut down for Ashe.
And finally, these moments of scrappiness are going into the favor of Vitality Rising Bees. It feels like they are just forcing down the plays, but it is Eterna that is not able to come up with the answers. not time and time again. And this shift of momentum to the side of Vitality Rising Beast is immediately accompanied by pressure onto the towers.
Absolutely. The mid-game really starting to come back for the Rising Bees. They've gotten that gold lead back in their control, a marginal 400 or so. And this gives them a platform to play with, because if the game was going to keep going like it was, Eterna would just scale away from them into the distance. As it stands, Eterna still has 2 Drake's lead to play with an Ocean Soul coming up. And it looks like the Grubs were picked up by the Bees on the other side. So they do have some decent tower pushing, though, as we said, side laning not necessarily their strength. If they can find a team fight and push down the towers, they are going to be a little speedier doing so.
And we'll be racing for that first tower, as Herald is going the way of Eterna. Well, not anymore, I guess, because the top tower had 1 HP.
Yeah, it's been tough for Cassante in this game, and we see OP going for another play, gets over the wall with the Mega into a stun, chasing them down. Honestly, the Mini-Gnar is scarier for the Cassante right now. Triforce doing a lot of work, and the pressure keeps mounting in top lane.
That press the attack is absolutely criminal into the Cassante. The damage that she has been getting from this, it is no laughing matter. Even under tower, nowhere is safe for the Cassante. And if you were to tell me, I mean, that is already with the Unending Despair finished. Some 2 cloth armors pulling in, and under tower, fight continues.
They need to finish this objective. The Cyclone gives them time with an encore as well. The 3v3 developing. Can Senna and Seraphine hold the line right now? Ashe and Nautilus looking for a way in. Senna barely goes down as Rim has the ultimate. A TP in from OP. Everyone is piling into this lane. Now the Cassante ultimate comes through, but Mega Gnar's arrived to knock down the Seraphine. Aurora flashing into the backline, gets the kill onto Ashe. Honda abandoned in the brush, maybe looking for a chance to catch out onto the Aurora once again. As Cassante threatening the 1 versus 2, finds Rim. Knocked back onto Mini-Gnar, but we've seen how this goes, and OP will pick up the killing spree. It's only Aurora left alive as the boomerang does not quite connect.
And these are the 2 sides of OP that you can see. Sometimes the aggression gets punished, or sometimes it punishes the enemy, lays down the law, puts them in jail, and that's what that's what it looks like.
This is one of the most front foot Gnar games I have seen all year, Bandit. The amount of control that OP is getting over the map, over the team fights, is absolutely sensational. And off a champion where it's quite easy to mismanage your Gnar bar, especially when you're building on a side lane, trying to find the right place to TP. But OP is getting 110% out of this champion pick right now. Huge CS lead, huge gold lead, massive teamfight impact. They are looking for Clef in the mid lane. They've got so many ways to start a play, and looks like they found it. Senna not going to get out of this one.
Here is the thing. The bot lane of Eterna, I want to pay some attention to C. Despite the fact that Clef went down without any glory, so to speak of, quite unceremoniously, the fact that C has been zoning away Cosmic time and time again is a major feat. In the previous skerfuffle in the bottom lane, you had Cosmic not being a presence whatsoever. However, Cosmic is giving that respect, meaning that when the cooldowns are expended, they do step up once again. If they were to overstep, they would die. So do not take Cosmic's respect for the Seraphine as weakness. She is playing to her strength whenever she can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is very marked to me seeing when Cassante gets into these plays and has to deal with anyone except Mini-Gnar, how scary it still is, and the way it's being managed is very, very effective for the Rising Bees right now. They've picked up an Ocean Drake as well, so they've stopped that soul stacking for Eterna. Good to slow down that win condition as Wukong seems to be caught out of dodge right now. OP is not to be challenged like this. Even the Senna ult can't save the Wukong. It's Cassante maybe trying to get to safety. Honda considering a dredge line, but won't go for it.
And just to remind you, Ivy picked Cassante into the Gnar. This was not the counter pick Gnar into the blind Cassante. They chose for this matchup, and I don't think they're too happy with their choices of pick and ban.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some of those early lane fights were very close, but it really just swung away from them. Once the Triforce came out, the Mini-Gnar was doing nasty things to that Cassante. Black Cleaver now completed as well. The Swifties, it's so hard to actually escape this little rat in the top lane that Xenobi, we really want to see that Cassante, I think, just do anything else except match up against the Gnar, because that is not working out so hot.
It is a poor start as well. from OP, right? Going down twice, giving 2 assists over to the Cassante, and still their rising advance could not be stopped. They are taking over this game, putting Vitality Rising Bees upon their back, and they have no problem whatsoever playing towards their current strengths, which hold the title of OP.
Eterna now trying to get some vision down in their jungle, but the Rising Bees, I think they smell that this game is comfortably in their favor right now, and they are the team with all the playmaking tools in the world. Honda does spot out Wukong in the brush, and they've caught Aurora as well, tries to swap out of position with the ultimate, but there's just so many bodies in that area, and they will not escape.
Yeah, there was an attempt for a rescue crew on the side of Eterna to bail out their Ive mid laner, but it's simply too little too late. Even with the entire Trauma crew there, it was 3 against 4, and they're not done!
Oh no, the flash from C! They get away from the Ashe ult, but the Nautilus hook lands true, and it's a second pick in the topside jungle for Rising Bees. There's pings onto the Baron.
They have the DPS with the auto attacks from Gnar and Ashe mounted up there. They can definitely threaten this. Who is going to face check?
Without the Seraphine, it's such a critical part of the 5v5 threat for Eterna. The Encore can completely save a game, but they don't have that option right now. You can see Cassante looking for a tentative way to check this, and
they still don't have vision.
Wants to get into the pit, rooted well by Rim, and the Baron continues to fall. It's already been picked up. And the Rising Bees are going to stroll away without contest.
And here's the thing, Eterna kind of misjudged the situation, underestimate the DPS that Vitality Rising B is able to put out with just 3 of their members. They couldn't get confirmation of the HP bar of the Baron, and it leads to a rather slow reaction. And before they can get into gear, Vitality is gone with all of the loot.
Absolutely, made out in broad daylight. Now the Rising Bees can start this Baron push going. We can see OP heading off into the side lane as expected, and the 4 stack from the rest of them heading down this mid lane. And with all of the picks and siege potential they have, with an Ashe and a Lux pushing down with Baron waves, this is going to be pretty tough to deal with.
I will say, Trajan, that was a great pun. Broad daylight, I think that deserves a round of applause. That is masterfully executed. Well done.
I will take it, and we see like Vitality Rising Bees, they're going to take this turret as well. Senate and Seraphine doing what they can. Wukong looking for a way into the jungle, maybe trying to find a cyclone flank position. The Honda is on top of it. They're not going to let this monkey get into the backline for free as Rim catches out Clef.
That is the greatest disappearing trick I've seen since probably the last Magician show I've been to. Evaporates the health bar of Senna. And how are you going to defend when one of your main sources of DPS is taken out of the equation?
We can see Cassante not exactly having the best of times, still matched up against OP in the bot side. Nobody can stop the Gnar in this game. And even though Rim did have a little bit of a slow start on the Lux, we see the value right now. If it catches the right target, it completely neutralizes the enemy defense. And the turrets keep tumbling. Rim keeps threatening.
Knocking on the door, and it's not just a gentle knock. No, they have a battering ram with them. Look at these turrets mounting, but they gotta be careful though. The engage can land any second.
Find onto the split push. The Aurora ult comes down. A second cyclone. There goes the Encore, and the first shutdown picked up. Oh, but it's a big knock-up and an even bigger Lux ultimate once again. Clef is annihilated. And it leaves Cassante alone on the front line. C trying to scramble back to the tower, but no such luck. OP cannot be denied now. Flash Mega Gnar for the final kill, and it's an ace for the Rising Bees.
Eterna thought they had their opening, picking a fight when OP wasn't there. It looked rather marvelous until Rim steps in, blows up the entirety of Eterna. OP cleanup crew ready for duty, and that might be all she wrote for game number 1.
Rising Bees really showing the quality here. After a struggle in the early few levels, it looked like Eterna's calm was going to be able to scale up, and this is cyberbullying Rim. This surely cannot be allowed under the rulebook. Clef just annihilated on the turret, on the fountain, everywhere this center has gone in the past few minutes has been a death sentence, and 25 minutes on the clock. The Rising Bees take down the Nexus.
And to think that early game looked so fortunate for Eterna, how quickly and treacherous the tides can be on the Rift. Blink, and suddenly you are 3k behind, all thanks to this incredible snowballing of OP, my MVP for game 1.
Yeah, I think that's inarguable, right? Absolutely sensational performance from OP. Very happy to see that Rising Bees, they've clearly earned that 5-0 record, right? Even if things don't all go swimmingly for you, you need to be able to try and find your solution, use your strategies and your tools that you've drafted to break your way back into the game. And that's exactly what they did. The desk is going to break this one down a little bit more after this break. We will see you back in a moment for more Game Changers Rising.
What a game to start off with today, guys. Holy. Lunari, talk me through it. What did we just witness?
I mean, we witnessed definitely a lot of things. First of all, we witnessed an insane OP Gnar. I mean, it was definitely a game changer. And as we heard from the casters as well, I mean, it was the blind pick. I mean, to be a top laner that blind picked and be so impactful for the whole team, it's insane. I mean, we've seen her all over the map, in the jungle, in the bot lane, just making such a huge difference. And I think the Lux as well was, especially in the late game, just a huge damage dealer. It was just incredible to watch that, like, a sometimes considered basic pick like a Lux just working out so great. And yeah, I mean, we said it in the draft already that for us at least it looked a little more like tone for the Vitality Rising Beast, and they just executed it pretty well. It looked a little shaky like in the first, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes. At least it was pretty close. But then they just got to fight the fights they wanted to. They just got to utilize all of their CC. And yeah, it just went really well.
Yeah, I fully agree. And in the end, while Vitality got like big lane leads on top and mid lane, Eterna did really well in Drake stacking, but they should have kept focusing on this. And what we saw in the end, if we were all the first clip already, was that we saw them fighting here on side lane. So first things first, having teams fight here on side lane, like you see 2 Drakes up Eterna, this is never a good sign. Normally when you see team fights, it's around neutral objectives, and it's what Eterna, who triggered that fight, should have focused on. And the second thing is that they were just completely outnumbered. Now it is when Starry is TPing in, but she's basically there when the fight is almost over, which then made sure that Eterna is gonna lose it, because they picked the fight, they weren't respecting that Vitality is there faster than Starry, and they also didn't really focus on what they should have focused on, and that is dragon stacking when you already had a really great macro starting off with 2 Drakes early on.
I mean, can we talk about these final sparks from Rim? Downtown final spark right there to just finish off the Senna in the Cataclysm was not the first time we saw that, but we have another clip ready actually already, Josh.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that one was just kind of the game finisher. This is also kind of something I noticed about Eterna as well against SK. It feels like when they're behind, they kind of start struggling and they just start fighting. And in this case, it is not a good position to fight because, again, you just talked about the final spark. We saw them line up perfectly for a beautiful Rim ultimate and an OP cleaning up the fight, picking up, well, it could have been a 10th kill, actually. I think she stayed on 9 there, yeah. Really, really great. I mean, OP also on a signature Gnar pick. Just blinding it, got counter-picked. But it feels like it's also kind of the weakness that Eterna on top of that needs to work on, because the Cassandra made sense kind of for draft, but overall Eterna's draft didn't feel as clean, as jointed as the Vitality draft, and on top of that, it just seems like they really only have Starry on weak side, so you can just blind champs like the Gnar, and no, you don't have to be scared that they suddenly pull out a really scary counter pick.
Yeah, definitely. And you've already talked about the dragon stacking, which is one thing why you don't want to fight. And on the other hand, we talked about that they probably wanted to focus on bot lane and wanted to play through bot lane. And I mean, you have a full scaling bot lane. Like, why fight in early to mid game if you want to extend the game as far as you want with a Senna? And
yeah, fully agree.
Especially then, considering both of those things, I mean, they set up their early game pretty well with the Drakes, with the possibility to scale late into the game. And then to take those fights is like something that just didn't line up quite well.
No, we talked about this bot lane here for our reigning champions Eterna here. Where we mentioned, like, yeah, as you say, they are hyper scaling, bot lane. They want to kind of just sing it out until the late game. But then again, there is the game plan that just looks very different for both of these teams draft wise, as you mentioned, Josh. And for me, I honestly think there was no clear engage tool on the side of Eterna. But what would you say is like the biggest draft gap is maybe not a great word to use here, but let's use it just for the sake of it. What is the biggest gap that you saw here that you're looking for Eterna to close in this upcoming game?
I mean, the first things first is that how the way Vitality plays, and I want to see them find an answer for it, is that they often go around, we get champs that can force prio, and then we use that prio to create numbers and always be an advantage. So when Eterna picks fights, you can be sure that Vitality is always first. So this could be something that they can target if they find a solution, if they have one right now, which I'm not sure of. But it leads me to the biggest point, going back to the draft they had. They had a comp that was kind of like defend the carry comp, a disengage comp, because Vitality picked a lot of engage. But then they had Senna on and Aurora, which is like, you don't really have like a big hyper carry. And Aurora, while she also has like disengage tools and can kind of be in the mix of it, it didn't feel like, especially when you pick her so late in draft, that she made sense for the comp. So when you build this whole comp around, like you have a Cassante, for example, you have a Seraphine, you have so many ways to peer your champs, you have the Wukong as well, and then you end up with a Senna Aurora. That's where it goes wrong. That should have been different picks, at least one of them.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, we've seen it in the fights. I mean, some fights started out pretty good for Eterna, but especially if those fights stretched longer, you could just see the DPS missing front and back. So it's definitely something they need to focus on, just getting some more damage into their comp if they have so much peel and so many tools to just support their team. You just at least need one pick with some kind of higher DPS.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you say that as well, right? Like some of the fights started looking really good. I mean, the Encores from C were money. They started off great engages, and that's their main engaging tool in these team fights. But then it's as you say, Josh, like we see this Senna and the damage isn't really ramping up as, like, if we would, for example, have a Jinx where you get this feel, they get excited and you can start running away with the team fight, but instead Alpi just got a clean house every time.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, I mean, let's see what they cook up for the second draft, right? So I think we have that one coming up.
I think we are about ready to head into draft. There we go.
Perfect timing.
So everyone,
not at all pre-planned. Not at all.
Planned. There was nobody telling me that.
This was really smooth. Like we just felt it.
It was like we feel that right here. But keep in mind, guys, this is Fearless. So all the picks that we have seen are not available anymore to us. So where do we put our cards? What are we gonna see?
A Varus ban. I mean, Varus pick if it's someone left open, but we see a Varus ban. What I'm also interested to see, Vitality likes to ban Karma, but maybe, like I said, Curveball, ending up picking the champ away, these kind of things. Let's see. Also Eterna, because they don't have B1, maybe we're gonna see some adapted bans on top of that. We saw Talaya, we also saw we saw them actually ban Orianna, so maybe they don't need to adapt it. True, I forgot about that. Because normally you never see. I forgot about that because normally you never see an Orianna on the blue side ban. But
that's true.
Yeah, that was interesting. So they probably run the same bans here, Orianna as the last ban, and for Vitality they ban out the Karma. They don't like to be that one either. It doesn't fit their style. Honda is more of an engaged player as well, and she does it very well. So makes sense.
Yeah, I mean the Varus ban coming through, as we already talked about. Lulu on the side of Vitality, so maybe something like the Galio and stuff is still open. So this could be something, but yeah, the already talked about Orianna ban definitely makes sense. No surprise.
I mean, yeah, Ezreal knows. That was what
Ezreal
was
is
banned
open,
previously,
yeah.
and there was I mean, it kind of surprised me because I think there's a lot of answers to Ezreal, but a lot of
Rise.
teams prioritized a lot of players, but it is Rise instead. Rim had a very good Rise performance yesterday against SK, who had a hard time countering it. So I mean, the champ is just strong. You have push, you can play into side, you can play good team fights, and Oh, that is a spicy answer. Spicy pick. Let's go.
We talked about it earlier about the pocket picks and the spicy picks, and they heard me. Thanks.
No, I'm immediately backing that up with a Scion as well. So we've got the front line covered here at least.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. In this case, definitely covered the front line. But and already, I think an ASOL is sometimes a little flippy. It can definitely carry your game and could be the damage dealer that you need. But if you can't really scale into the game, it can be a hard time. And we see the Nocturne with the Ambassador.
Yeah. I kind of like the combo Nocturne Ambassador because it's just... I mean, Ambassador ult is a bit harder to hit now, but when the lights are off, you might struggle to dodge. Trundle, not that common and we see that one anymore, but the ultimate is always a good tool if you want to one-shot your target. And it makes sense right now. I think Eterna wants to heavily focus on bot lane this game. That's also why they picked the Scion early. They know, okay, the best tool that OP has is the Ambassador. We're fine with this. We're just going to take the bullet on top lane. And we set up a strong bot lane matchup. Jinx ban. I mean, it could also be, you know, like there was this comp once. I think it was actually Cosmic in Go Aurora who was playing that one back then, or maybe even, yeah, I think it was there. They had like Smolder and Aurelion Sol. Like they played those, went full scaling, just waited out the game, full scaling. Jinx ban is usually quite a nice ban for Smolder. I mean, there's a lot of other champs that could play, but like maybe they go for the Smolder. Who knows?
That would be that would definitely be a second little spicy pick.
Two scaling dragons, today. Huh?
On one rift would be wild, but we definitely see the like bot lane bans coming through as well with the Ezreal. We've talked about it earlier as well. Definitely makes sense, and the Zeri as well. Ooh, the Sivir.
I think it makes more sense, but I'm still disappointed.
Yeah,
it makes much more sense. I think Smolder is hard to pull out, to be honest, especially with that comp.
I think into this you don't really want to go Smolder.
Yeah.
No.
But that opens up a good Alistar pick that's just strong into Sivir because the W works into Sivir's auto attack range, can just knock her back whenever she wants to auto attack and kind of just cancel her out. But at the same time, I think Alistar still has some trouble into Trundle and the Ziggs just to get the spot lane prio. Makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. It's a comfort pick for Cosmic, and this is how they generally want to play, like heavily into top side, have a strong top side with like Brim, Delicat, and OP. So I like what I see. While Eterna yet again just going for a very simple front to back comp. But this time, if they do a good job at stacking Drakes again, I just hope to see them like a third Drake to actually just take control of a river and play that out again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this time at least you have the Sivir that can definitely hyper carry your team much more easily than the Senna. So they definitely took that learning from game one.
Yeah, with the Sivir it becomes much harder to overload lanes here. Also, Aurelion Sol kind of just gives you that guaranteed scaling that can just help you get to that late game. So, guys, as we are loading into the game and we're about ready to give it to our casters, can I hear your predictions? Is it going to be Vitality Rising Beast taking the 2-0 here? Or do Eterna stand a chance to take us to another game?
I would say that I would prioritize Vitality. I think they just they look to have like genuinely a better plan on what they want to do and executing it better. Like even when Eterna had a plan, it felt like they can't stick to it. And I think this time Eterna's comp is a lot more like they fit together. These champs fit together, yes. But I still can't see them, based on game one and what I saw yesterday, to play it out how they're supposed to.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think the Sivir can have a hard time, especially against a dive possibility with a Nocturne. I mean, you still can dive with a Rise ultimate, set up flanks. I mean, you have just so much playmaking potential on the side of Vitality Rising Beast that I think I'm also leaning towards the Vitality draft here, definitely. Even though I think the Eterna draft is definitely better than the draft we saw in Game 1 and just more rounded in general.
Y'all are non-believers. I'm putting my money on Eterna. I think. Hear me out here. Hear me out.
Okay. We hear you out.
So, I think, yes, Vitality Rising Beast, they've got a good draft in the sense that they got a pull the trigger draft with an Alistar, with a Nocturne, with an Ambessa. They can overload side lanes with Rise. That's all good, hey? That's all grand. But then we look at Eterna's draft, and I think a lot of Eterna's success is going to come down to how they are going to communicate throughout these team fights, because if they can make sure that their Aurelion Soul stays safe, gets time to scale, and has the space to do damage and set up a big Sky Descent, I think they've got a really good chance to have a good opener there for a team fight, create the space that Sivir needs to do damage, and just make sure that she is protected by this bulky front line. I really think Eterna stands a chance here, guys. So I'm gonna say Eterna takes us to game number 3.
Okay, so we are 2-1 here.
2-1 here. 2-1 here indeed, but let's see what our casters have to say as we will give it to Bandit and Trajan. Take it away for game number 2.
Thank you, Joy. And these drafts today, Bandit, they are causing a lot of discussion, and I think rightly so, because there's some interesting kind of paths being taken here. And honestly, I don't even know which one I prefer. I think I liked Eterna's draft last game. It didn't end up working out in the end, but now...
Here's the thing.
Vitality Rising Bees are... I don't know. Just what have you got? You have a defined thought to help me with my own.
If you're looking at just purely the drafts, I feel that the draft on Eterna's side is telling a way more cohesive story this time around. And one that is layered in late game assurances. With both the Sivir, with both the Aurelion Soul, there are plenty of ways to kite in front of that, even introducing extra terrain types coming through. The only type that I was like, I would have seen that differently. When that Rise is being picked and the Anivia is left open, you are kind of showing your hand by saying, I will pick something else than the Anivia, kind of giving away the game that you are not simply in control of an Anivia pick, that's not in your wheelhouse. That will definitely be coming up in future series if it will get to that moment. But beside that point, cohesive draft, clear game plan, get through early and mid, where we know Vitality Rising Bees are very scrappy, and if they have trouble closing it out, we will strike back with a vengeance.
Yeah, you have to believe that if you do not end before like the 30-minute mark against Sivir ASOL, surely we're going to struggle at this point, right? There's so much scaling protection there with the Scion and Brom frontline to lock it down. So Eterna absolutely have the late game here, that is for sure. And for the side of Rising Bees, I do think I would expect to favor them in that early and mid there. But I think the execution is way higher in this game. There's far less consistent ways to lock down targets, to lock down multiple targets especially. They have some but they don't layer nearly as easily. So I think Vitality Rising Bees are going to have to continue to show us that excellence in execution for it to actually pay off here. They have got a harder job in this game, though I think they are still in control of the pace early on.
You're right on the money with that one, Pigeon. The most important objective on this game, without a doubt, has to be the Baron buff, as we do see some early game scrapping.
Pretty tough for Honda there. The Brom passive coming up big for C.
And once again, the disrespect or not respecting the aggressive positioning from Honda is... I like the bravery that we see from Eterna's bot lane. Previously, we underestimated them, thinking they would have a tough time fighting into the Rising bot lane. Nothing less was the case. But to bring it back to Baron, look at the wave clear on this lineup. Both the Sivir and the Aurelion Soul. if Eterna wants it, you are not getting anywhere close to their towers.
Yeah, the zone control is a bit nutty for Eterna. Even then with Sion, like posting up in brushes, charging decimated smashes, the Brom ultimate can continue to slow that advance even more. Trundle Pillar is so hard to actually move through like the quicksand that Eterna can turn the river into if you're trying to approach an objective. So I guess for me, what I need to see from Eterna then is they need to be there first. I want to see them get into those objectives ahead of time, set up the vision, and use those zone control tools that you have. And force, you know, Vitality Rising Beast to hard commit over a long distance. Use that Ambessa and Nocturne to dive in deep. It's hard to stay cohesive when you're kind of trying to maneuver around all of these trip hazards that Eterna can put down.
And even, I want to see patience on the side as well. You know you have that late game assurance. I think you can even give up a first Baron. If you are not confident you can be competitive in the fights, you can give up that Baron. Taking Baron by itself is not that impressive a objective anymore. Most of that gold and experience is sitting in getting those towers from the Baron. And that is your comfort zone, sitting under tower, clearing up waves. So be patient, play to your strengths, Eterna, and this game might turn it all around for you.
Yeah, you know, it's not like Vitality Rising Beast have an excellent set of range champions. They do have a Ziggs, which might be under threat right now, but Honda, in fact, is being trapped by the pillar. The Brom stun is there, flashes back to the turret, and Alistar will barely survive as Trundle comes around the corner just to make sure that the full retreat is called.
Not committing to it fully will allow Cosmic to stay in lane with that Ziggs. And are you worried at all on the side of Vitality Rising Beast that they might be a little bit AP heavy if they are not going a more bruiser build on OP?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the DPS is fully AP heavy, right? The Ambessa can, again, it can be a bit of a menace in the backline, but not against tanky characters. This is a threat onto the Assault and the Sivir. Sion is going to be comfortable enough dealing with this, I think. Even Trundle, depending on how ahead of the curve Thorn is, and depending on the build that chooses to go, should be able to deal with that not too bad. It's going to be on Rim and on Cosmic to actually get that DPS down, but it's not the most consistent. It's not like just having a Jinx, having a Caitlyn, someone that can really just fire that damage over the top. I don't know, I'm pretty worried for the Bees. I'm going to be brutally honest. I think they played first game very, very well, OP especially, and they're going to be really reliant on that kind of execution difference, that mechanical outplay, I think, to actually get past Eterna here in game 2.
Trajan, I'm gonna serve you something, and then you tell me if you like the way it sounds. Yeah. We see first strike on the Ambessa. We know for a fact that OP has been exposed to Road of Legends Ambessa connoisseur Matisse Day, who has been playing his heart out for Dynasty. And he fields a deadly lethality Ambessa. Is that just the way to go? Fully commit to that backline threat, go lethality, make life miserable for the Eterna backline, because where is the damage going to come from?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the Sion and Trundle are not gonna cut the mustard if they don't have a Sivir and Alien Soul backing them up. The Eterna composition heavily relies on this very standard front-to-back style where you're protecting that DPS because all of the damage is located in that mid and bot carry. So if you can consistently eliminate them, lethality Ambessa, full, potentially even a little bit more damage on the Nocturne than normally you'd see, then the rest of you, Ryze and Ziggs and Alistar, you can kite out the other two to the end of time.
And you are spreading out that damage profile as well. Now, I do want to be mindful of me, because Rim has Flash, and on the other side, Ive doesn't have a lot of HP.
Yeah, this is a bit of a threat right now. We see them stacking up with that E, prepping for the Rise, but now coming in to stop them. Both junglers, in fact, taking an investment in this play. Level 6 ticked over for Thorn, but we'll hold on to the ultimate. Drops by Aurelion Sol as well, but doesn't connect onto anybody. Eterna still certainly on the back foot after that.
And I want to shout out Delicate's awareness to cover of that gank. Could be a disaster, but because Delicate's Nocturne is ready to answer that play, life remains difficult for Ive as they fall further and further behind. Almost 30 CS behind!
Oh dear. Oh, the bomb isn't spell shielded by that. Massive. Cosmic has a chance to get one more bomb. Will knock down either of them, but it goes through the uprights. The autos aren't enough. And Eterna's bot lane, they overplay in bot side and have to run for the hills.
deja vu from game 1, where it was Vitality Rising Bees who were getting out on the skin of their teeth. But missing out on a cannon wave as the Sivir, who already has the call, is going to be so incredibly painful, regardless, despite missing that wave, staying up in CS.
Yeah, it's a solid start for Rising Bees right here. The Ziggs bot lane is a menace if you can get it through that bot lane tower early on. The push potential is very, very strong. It keeps that gold income high and spreads it out among your team if you can strip those plates, get the first turret gold, and all of the rest of it. And that is, I think, gonna be pretty important for Rising Bees. That top side needs gold income quickly so that they can actually, have the power on deck to push through Eterna and not let them scale up, as you have a bit of a mid lane scuffle developing right now. C taking a lot of damage on the front line. Paranoia committed in by Delicate, and Brom is going to be knocked over. Rim with the first blood. Is there an answer? The Trundle Pillar forces a flash, followed up, and now in comes Asol and Sivir. The DPS coming down, and Delicate falls. Honda next on the chopping block, and Rim is the only B left alive in mid.
Turning around that play is absolutely massive, because by getting gold onto your Aurelion Soul, you are bailing them out of that miserable laning phase that they've been enduring for so long now.
This top lane, at least, is going more comfortably for Eterna. We're not seeing as much pressure from OP, and we know if you don't kill the Scion within a certain amount of time, you're probably not going to do it at all in the laning phase, as Rim's still threatening. Onto Ive, as we can see, but C covering that one off. Honda's now arriving as well. There is a flash if you want to go for the knockup. Oh, but it's matched by the Aurelion Soul. Clutch timing from the Eterna mid laner gets them out alive.
Ive, does your greed know no bounds? That was so incredibly greedy. And the fact that they have nothing to get back to lane very quickly, despite the little astral glide for themselves, fielding the exhaust instead. Missing out on that wave is just adding to the existing pain that's already out there, almost falling behind 1,000 gold after 9 minutes of play.
Celeste now on a 1 versus 2, no one to assist the Ziggs, and the Satchel Charge isn't the best, but a minefield will do enough work to keep them alive. Sivir popped the ultimate for that play as well, as now we see the Scion under massive threat in a 3v1, but Ivy just walks away with the win.
Oh, but the answer they're looking for, it might be set up in bot lane.
Now let's see what Eterna can do with a 3v1 of their own. Ziggs completely clears the wave. Another utility power of this champion, and the dive can't even come through.
Tower dive this, you casuals, as Cosmic is making mincemeat out of minions in the bot lane. And that earlier saddle charge to get them out of the gank, I loved it, dodging both the my lord, word, the Trundle Pillar, and the Boomerang Blade coming out of the Sivir, keeping them healthy enough to actually invest and step up that little bit to clear out the wave later. Masterfully executed by Cosmic.
Delicate went for a camp steal and is happy to scrap it out with Trundle on the contest, as Rim's going to be the first to rotate down here. Scion might be able to come through. Paranoia is locked, but it blocks the vision for Ivy to get on top of Rim. Still, a decimating smash is found. There's no summoners on this rise, and flying in comes the Aurelion Soul. Not quite positioned properly, but the ult comes down and committed, as Ivy punishes more over-aggression by the Bees.
And once again, we see that Eterna is keeping up with those early skirmishes that Rising Bees are putting out there. Now, the pivotal point in the previous game was around that 15-16 minute mark, where the tempo simply gets too high and too many skirmishes are happening at once, overloading any possible responses from Eterna's side. Will we see history repeat itself?
Eterna with a very solid foundation to build the late game on, coming even out of this early stage. And I think their composition is already starting to show its value, right? The Scion at this point is pretty much uncrackable. None of the Vitality Rising Beast champions are built to defeat a champion like Scion. We just don't have the tools in the toolkit. It's all about getting to the threats behind them. And so far, the Beasts have not really been able to break through that front line.
And here's the thing. I have some very good news, Trajan. I spy with my little eye a brutalizer in the inventory of Oak, which builds into a voltaic cycle sword. We are in for an absolute treat, starting with this dragon.
Yes, it does. And now Rim's a little isolated right now, and it's actually Eterna who are the more cohesive fight here. They're going to burn through that rise to open up the play. TP's in from the top liners, and Eterna are just sticking close, shoulder to shoulder, trying to stop Bees getting into the backside. Ziggs poking out with the bombs. Honda suffering on the front line. No ultimate available for Alistar right now. And here comes the Ambessa, Brutalizer, Cyclo Sword, in fact, in inventory. They can get onto the back line. Big knockup by Honda. They need to protect Aurelion Soul and let Sivir get the damage down. Eterna now trying to flee, committing the ultimate. Goes in, goes OP, and they get that first shutdown. The Ambessa doing mega work in this team fight, makes it okay for the Bees.
And I was holding my breath out there. We know for a fact that OP is psychotic enough to flash into that backline. All so low, blinking health bars. And once again, OP is taking a decisive stance in these team fights throughout the lane. This time, not giving away the early kills, making sure that they can reach those power spikes tremendously more expected.
OP is really putting this whole series on her back right now, Bandit. I gotta be honest, that fight was such a good start for Eterna. You did see them run out of juice a little bit as it went on, and they just didn't have anything left in the tank to try and contest Ambessa, especially with Honda setting up with a beautiful two-man pulverize as well.
Are you ready for more? Because the dragon is still there. We're just gonna do it again.
Flash with the stun. Paranoia comes in. Trundle has to flash back to the turret, stays alive as Ziggs falls in that top side of the river. That is not what Vitality needed. Sivir is still ready on the bot side. And if Eterna want to contest the Drake, they might be able to go for it.
Resetting, making these backs not come through. If they have to engage here.
The nerves on Rim to not use a summoner. That was a very close call, but gonna keep those defensive options for the next play.
Now they gotta mount up the tempo here right now, though. Keep up the pressure and start this dragon. Do they have to DPS even without their mid laner around?
It's going to be uncontested by Vitality here. Two dragons once again stacked up first for Eterna. Now after that point in game number 1, Bandit, it started to go a little bit south for them. A Chemtech Rift for us here in game number 2 as Rim instead opts for Plate Gold in mid lane.
And it's been talked about to death. And I will continue that trend. The fact that the scaling team composition is in possession of the first 2 dragons is such a nightmarish situation to be in. Either buying them more time back and avoiding team fights when they're still scaling, or already threatening a soul, accelerating their scaling so much more.
On the dive, they have a soul almost dead to rights here. And OP not going to be denied. This combination of Honda and OP in this game has been stellar.
This is the deadliness of that lethality Ambessa coming through. I love the adaptability coming through on the side of Vitality Rising Bees, not going for the cut and standard build path that would usually come through. No, we are exploiting the weaknesses of our enemies to the maximum.
I'm so happy to see these kind of performances from Honda, particularly, to be honest, from Rising Bees. This is one of the new players that's been joined onto this roster, right? We have a lot of veterans and players with a lot of accolades in the WNB scene now in EMEA, but Honda is a relatively new talent. Vitality Rising Bees, one of our legacy teams, one of our LEC-backed orgs, still committing to this relatively unproven talent, and we see why. We see the value that this player is bringing onto the Rift today.
There can be no doubt about it. And by pairing them up with the more experienced names that already have some accolades behind them, they are being set up for future success. So much for all the game changers that are still to come. You can assure yourself that the peak potential has not been realized just yet. And that makes for a bright and promising future.
Ivy Silent now matched up against the Ambessa once more. To be honest, this feels like probably the best scenario for Eterna, the best champion able to deal with Ambessa for now, though we do see a bit of armor pen coming through on this Ambessa now as well, with the Last Whisper heading towards what I assume is going to be the Lord Dominic's at some stage. So still getting a little bit shredded, but you've got to imagine anyone else matched up into the Ambessa would probably be dead already by now.
Yeah, and that's going to continue throughout the entirety of the game. And the fact that they will be dashed out with those grubbies and those void mites, making them be an even more pressing problem in the side lanes. Can they punish his overstep, though? Even then, you got to be a little bit careful, because that's a 2-level difference.
Yeah, that's the thing about Ambessa. It's one of those champions where you can spot. It's like Riven, where you're like, aha, they're almost dead. I will simply walk up and complete the kill, and then it's like, I have been slain. Oh, I didn't. What happened? I didn't quite see what went on there. And you do have to respect OP very much on the Zambessa. It's actually the Cyrilda's coming through. So an additional bit of slowing potential as well. Some ability haste to stack up does make a lot of sense on this Ambessa. I don't feel like I see it too often, but when you have a tank line that is now pretty strong in the game, you've got to be able to deal with it somehow. As Delicate looking for an angle onto this Scion. The fear is there. The CC is just so hard to deal with, and it's more gold funneled into Ambessa.
And here, once again, it is Eterna kind of losing grip on the game around that 16, 17-minute mark on the dot, actually, where they are suddenly no longer capable of finding the answering play on the other side of the map or to counter gank these picks that Vitality Rising Bees are setting up. And I see a very similar sort of story unfold right in front of us, Trajan.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does feel like Eterna, the early in the laning phase, is certainly strong, but this Rim has Mega Blast Cone right on top of Sivir. Trundle trying to run back as fast as he can to support them as Delicate is there. Celeste with a satchel charge disengages the play. VRB wanted it, but ultimately they will break apart without any deaths. But you're absolutely right, Bandit. I think the VRB just have such a better control over the mid game than Eterna do right now. And, you know, you said that you want to see Eterna show a bit of patience. They've got so much scaling to get to. The late game is absolutely theirs, but they need to avoid bleeding out on the map so much while they're trying to get there.
You hit the nail right on the head. And can we just call out the fact that it looks like Rim and OP are in a race to who can perform the most suicidal plays out there, with OP in game one invading single-handedly, trying to take down the entire team, and now Rim being backline flanking Rise. That's a new one.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, they both want to keep Eterna destabilized. I think they never expect me to go in this deep kind of stuff, and I think that Eterna have managed to handle it decently well in both situations. As now they're trying to hold on to this mid turret, and this is a bit of a group push for Rising Bees, but pushing a lane into Aurelion Sol and Sivir, easier said than done.
Yeah, it is just so laughably unfair for a team that can keep their distance and not even allow you to get in range of the tower. I mean, the tower is just sitting there. This is the most supported tower in the history of League of Legends.
Yes, we do have C currently checking out some vision on the bot side.
Aggressive teleport.
From Sion. Herald coming in as well. The Paranoia call, trying to find an isolated Brom. They do get the knockup, but this is a high priority target. And Besta coming in for the flank. Watch for OP's engaged. The blast cone gets C back to safety, but the mid turret's already gone down, and Eterna are backing away into mid lane. This will leave Dragon exposed.
Yeah, and they simply cannot commit much deeper. When Ambessa's public execution is not up and available, the threat on the backline is just quite minimal. This is why Eterna has, why Vitality has to take a step back and will gladly run away with the third dragon of the game, ending the momentum of dragon stacking for Eterna. I feel like we've said all of this before, Trajan.
Yeah, it's a bit of deja vu here in the second game today. Vitality Rising B so practiced at this stage of the game, and being able to move through that mid-game transition, whatever position you have out of lane, into that next stage of play, so often is like that hardest stage of the game to get to grasp it. Even when you go all the way up to tier 1, you can see teams that struggle to maintain control of that pace, and Vitality Rising Bees really are showing a great amount of mastery at this position, where Eterna starting and continuing to struggle at that point. And it is all about kind of just trying to stay alive, trying to stay with at least one hand grasping onto the rift. Don't lose inhibs too fast, don't lose Baron, don't lose a soul. And they can get to the promised land of Sivir and ASOL 6 items, but are Vitality Rising Bees going to let them? I don't know.
They do have the tools to keep forcing the issue. And it's up to Eterna to duck and dive, evade all these potential knockout blows that Vitality Rising Bees are throwing out one after another. It's really not the jab, jab, cross. It's just cross, cross, uppercut. And all are lethal.
Yeah, absolutely. Eterna certainly in the corner right now, keeping the guard up. And so in that last play, at the very least, they didn't lose any champions. They didn't give away any kills. They were able to successfully disengage, we can say. They clearly still don't quite have the damage to contest in a 5v5, as Delicate wants to push that issue. Sivir ult will let them reposition, and Ivy coming around the corner, the front line getting into position. ASOL is all the way in base, though. This is a 5v4 for Eterna, but they're getting through Honda. The Alistar ult keeps them alive for the time being. Trundle now falls, and Ivy's going to be next focus. There's an ASOL ultimate. If BRB overplay, out comes the massive splash of damage, but it's not pushed the bees back just yet. Eterna flashing to safety, and the carries still in position with Assault and Sivert. No knockup to be found on Rim, looking for a bit more damage, but it is just a single kill on Trundle to be found.
And this team fight really shows how invested Vitality Rising Bees are in that public execution from Obi. They miss it. And this entire fight feels a lot more even than a team that is 5k gold ahead and is missing their mid laner. If they can't get stuck onto that backline, they have a tough time playing the front to back into the Sivir, into the Trundle. They raw power themselves through it regardless because they are ahead. But you can see the vision that they have. If that public execution lands, this fight would have been a wash.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you brought it up, Bandit. You can just look at the goal differences. The entire 5k lead is basically on Alpi. It's all on Ambessa. And if that doesn't get the damage down, if they can't use that champion to its fullest, it's basically an even game, and it looked like an even fight. As we see now, shredding out Ivy, doesn't even need the assistance from Honda here. And that's what the Ambessa does if it's allowed to play.
Very uneven fight, that one. Yeah, I think there can't be any doubt. Oh, Paranoia, where are we flying?
Oh, into bot side, Asol, the fear comes through, isolated in the bot side. We've seen multiple plays from the Bees onto this lane when Eterna's trying to pick up the waves.
Oh, and you can see some of the indecisiveness coming through. You see on the one hand, Thorn wanting to collapse onto the side lane play, but lacking the backing of their bot lane, choosing to prioritize safety over reactivity. And honestly, I get the point. Yes, you're 8k down. Is trying to punish a 3 against 2 the play forward here? Or do we want to play around our strengths? Wait for that third item to come through for Clef.
It really just feels like Eterna are backstepping, and when Vitality Rising Bees make a play, it doesn't feel like there's a cross map. It doesn't feel like there's any counter maneuver from Eterna.
Deep
it's all
teleport.
about just trying to survive. As Delica looks for more, that is a deep teleport, and it gets Ambessa exactly where she wants to be. Diving in, slicing Eterna to pieces. They've TP'd in the support to try and hold the line, but Ambessa gets caught by the public execution, and Asol goes down in a flash. No carries left for Eterna, only the front line, then they have to back off.
And that is what a fight looks like with a team that is 10k ahead and actually has their carry go to town on that exposed underbelly of Eterna, like a hot knife through butter, like a fed Ambessa through immobile carries.
It's exactly as we thought, Bandit. The execution threshold was higher this game, but when the execution is there, Rising Bees are just so deadly. It's so deadly. And if Eterna can stop them getting the perfect engage, it looks playable, but in fights like that, it absolutely doesn't.
And despite the fact that this Ambessa is putting out tons of damage, as Rick would say, look at their build continuing now. They are getting those resistances stacked. The Death Stance makes it so that it's really hard to burst down the Ambessa. She can overstep that little bit, and if she manages to get that kill, all that stacked damage just evaporates. A true get-out-of-jail-free card for the carry that's already 7,500 gold ahead.
That's one of the biggest individual gold leads I have seen in a long time, Bandit. Easy Chemtech Drake pickup for Vitality Rising Bees. And it really is just don't be on the screens. The same screen as Ambessa time for Eterna. Not so lucky for Ivy, unfortunately. They'll make it back to Turret and Fountain alive, but the Baron Waves now crashing in.
Ive is continuously pushing the side lane, only resetting now.
Hell Shield on the Zigzag, but it's followed up by Nocturne. There's no more defense. The fear comes through. Rim gets the credit. Ivy back off the Fountain, but where's the Asol? They need some damage to come from somewhere. As Vitality Rising Bees, they push deep into the base for this. They can walk out through bot lane. We're already going to shred this turret, and Eterna, an exercise in holding the line this entire game has been, and now they have only a couple more lines left to hold.
And the composition that was so good at clearing waves isn't allowed to make a fist. They don't sync up. And it takes so long for them to finally entrench themselves in their base that by the time they get a foothold, the base is already in tatters.
Vitality going for the last push. Still 7 seconds left on Sivir, but oh my word, the Ambessa! A perfectly placed ultimate once again, and Alfie unleashes on the backline. A triple kill, a 9.3 thousand gold lead in top lane. And today, Vitality Rising Bees, they've been riding on the back of Alpi, and they have looked phenomenal doing so.
You gotta play to your strengths in matches like these, and there can't be any doubt a top laner that ends the game with a 10,000 individual gold lead has to be one of your pride and joys. And that is kind of the daunting fact here. It's not just Alpi. Just as easily they can rely on Rim or play the game through Cosmic. It's an absolute nightmare of a roster to be playing against.
Yeah, the support staff, you know, for Bees, all getting in line behind Alpi, were doing a phenomenal job, right? Honda especially, I want to highlight them again. Excellent Alistair engages, setting up the Ambassador to those critical mid-game fights that really accelerated Alpi to the point that she got. And then for Eterna, I saw the vision, I saw the point, but ultimately they just weren't able to hold them back. They just weren't able to stem the bleeding, to stem the tide, I should say. And, you know, them's the beats. If you can't hold up under pressure, there's nothing you can do.
I like the way they adapted their game plan. All right, like, all right, we can get through the early game, and then if we draft ourselves a composition that can actually power through and overpower Vitality Rising Bees in the late game, we might have a chance. Except they fall at the exact same hurdle that they did the first time. They don't, they can't translate those early game leads into late game winning team fights. And all credit to Vitality Rising Bees.
Yeah, for sure. Not really putting much of a foot wrong today. Credit to Eterna on the laning phase. The next stages need a bit of work, but they do have another chance to do so. They're going down into the lower bracket, but their journey here in May in stage 1 is not over. For now, back to a quick break. The desk will be back in just a moment to break down that series.
Hello and welcome back. We are having a little winners interview over here with OP, our star performer for this series from Vitality Rising Bees. How are you doing, OP? How does it feel?
I'm doing great. I feel great. I'm so happy with how things have been going. Yeah.
Can you unmute on Discord because I'm not able to hear you through
Oh,
vMix?
sorry. Okay.
Thank
My
you.
bad.
That's great.
Alright.
Could you just for me repeat what you were saying? Sorry.
Okay. No problem. No problem. And my bad. I said I'm doing great, and very happy with how we've been doing so far, especially today. Like we're showing that yesterday's performance was not just luck or anything. We are playing just as well again.
Yeah, absolutely. You really put your money where your mouth is. You guys remain completely undefeated, which is an amazing performance. And I'm gonna say it again. You had a fantastic performance. First on the blind pick Nar, then on the Ambessa. Tell me a little bit about these matchups and how you were approaching these games because you had some fantastic playmaking moves.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, well, Nara and Abessa are two of my most comfortable champs. In general, I know that Starry likes to play tanks a lot, so like so far, I think she's only played tanks. So I was very comfortable to just blind pick the Nara. I know I'll get a good matchup for it, and I did. So even though that game, the early game was a bit rocky, I still pulled through. And for Ambessa, I'm just like I'm super comfortable playing her in every matchup, and especially Sion is just very easy to play into. So yeah, I even did like my own setup with First Strike. I don't think most people would do, but I just knew it would work great.
Yeah, I mean, you were definitely giving us a masterclass there. It was really, really nice to see. And I just want to know, what's the overall feeling currently for you in Vitality Rising Bees, and what are the comms like during these kind of games?
I think the feeling's fantastic. Everyone is so happy. I think in general we are a very happy team. Like no matter how things are going, and that's something that I like about us. But especially since we're winning, everyone is just so proud of each other and supportive, and it's just a great atmosphere.
Yeah, amazing. So good to hear that. And so currently, the teams that you are facing next are still battling it out. These are Eclipse and Mental Rush. Who do you think you're going to be facing here?
Well, I'm not sure because normally I would say it's Mental Rush, but Eclipse showed yesterday that they can beat even some of the better teams. Like they upset G2, they had a pretty good showing. So I'm not quite sure that I can say it's Mental Rush, even though I think they're stronger because Eclipse,
Okay.
they
And
have
who would you
potential.
prefer to go up against?
Well, I'm not sure. Eclipse, they have some of my old teammates from last year, so I want them to do good, but if they do good, then I have to beat them. So that's a sad feeling, no matter what. Mental Rush, we've played each other a lot of times, so it would be interesting to play them again. I think we're better, probably. We've won, like, we had a show match, and we also beat them yesterday, so I'm confident we'll beat them. I don't know if both of them I'm eager to play versus.
All right. And is there any team that you're scared to play against? Final question for today.
I don't think there's a reason to be scared of anyone right now. We've shown no signs of losing, and every other team has, so I'm confident. But if there's one team that I'm like skeptical, it's probably G2 Hell. We haven't played them, and they seem to be doing pretty well right now. Still, I think we'll beat them, so I'm not scared. I'm just eager to see how they fare versus us.
Yeah, you guys are sitting undefeated comfortably at the top, so I think you're absolutely right. No reason to be scared so far. Thank you so much, Opie, for your time, and once again, congratulations on the win. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right. Time to bring my desk back in. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Well, that was quite the series, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, definitely. It was a quick one for sure, first of all. And second of all, it was a fight heavy one, and it was a series with some question marks here and there, but in generally, I think pretty entertaining to watch.
Yeah, fully agree. And I think there were some fights by both sides picked that to me they made no sense, where I think both of them showed some shakiness. But the more the game went on, Vitality just showed that they are clearly the better team. And I mean, for me, what just makes them so defining is that the side lane pressure. I mean, this game again with Ambassador and Rise, they put out to create numbers. It is how they play. They do it well, and teams seem to struggle now, like because now then people know that this is definitely how they play, how to play into it. And here's like one of the examples. You see that waves are pushed in. And one thing that was really bad by Eterna here is that they just went too... I mean, they went too deep. Like, they went way too deep. The top lane wasn't there, mid lane isn't there, and they generally don't respect the numbers Vitality is always creating. And I think this was the biggest issue in the series that ended up losing them the both games. Because even in game 1, where they're forced to engage, I already said that it wasn't a position you should even engage in, but I also didn't respect that Vitality will just be first. And here, yet again, they walk up with 3 people, while Vitality, they will all have all 5 there, and that's something that Eterna has been clearly lacking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry. No, I think especially they drafted in the second game also a comp that would have loved to see an extended game, the same as in the first game. So they just took too many fights. I mean, you've already talked about it. They didn't respect the numbers that that Vitality was creating, and they were just not respecting the comp they drafted, basically. So it was just a little sad to see in both games that they got the dragon stacking. They got basically every tool in their hand they needed to win the game, and then they just got forced and pushed into those fights that they didn't even need to fight. So just seeing that was a little unlucky, just, and hopefully something they can fix and work out for the next games and series they have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's for Eterna, it's back to the drawing board now, because we're going to see that they were our reigning champions. Sorry. Can they keep their crown? Back to the drawing board I'm mentioning, because they will be dropping down into this lower bracket where they will go back to the best of ones with a chance to still make it back to the Tuesday. But this is something that we are also still waiting to see who they are going to be going up against, because as I discussed before, the game between Eclipse and Mental Rush is currently at a 1-1, and yeah, also G2 versus oh god, how do I pronounce this team again? Barchasa Babylon. I'm sorry if I completely butchered that name. Still ongoing. So if I can ask you guys for a few predictions here, what do you guys think? Who do you guys think is going to be, well, continuing on in the higher department of these brackets?
Well, I personally would just say it's like the favorites still. Eclipse, obviously, like first game, surprised us beating Mental Rush, and Mental Rush has been looking very shaky, but I still think they will come out ahead and face Vitality. And for G2L against Bashansa, it's gonna be G2L winning as well. I had to say that the first game, I quickly peeked into it while we were on break, and I was like, a 51-minute game, flipping for Elder. Like, Bashansa even had the Infernal Soul, so that was really, really crazy. Limka, I think, even got a pentakill as well. So it was very, very shaky by G2, even though they won in the end. But I still think they're gonna get through and face SK Avarosa, and then we have like those, like we have Vitality, Rising Beast, Mental Rush, SK Avarosa, and G2L in the upper bracket in the semifinals.
All right, Lunari, what do you think?
Yeah, I do agree. I I also like peeked a little bit into the G2 game, and it's like insane to see like games that stretch this long. But as you said, I mean, I think they are definitely beatable, as we saw in the game. But yeah, I do agree with your picks. I think it's at this stage of the game that we are seeing is it's the most obvious ones. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and with that said, we are still waiting on the results for the rest of the games. So we will be taking a short break and come back to you as soon as we know more and which series we will be going to catch next. So don't go anywhere. We will see you on the other side of this break.